Film, gaming, pop culture. Welcome to episode 13 of Everything's Permitted, live from Wade's Comic Madness and pre-recorded as well. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, Matt Reppert.
How you doing, everybody?
How you doing?
I am doing good. I went out and got some stuff on sale. I got a new movie that came out. I had a good week.
The day I don't see you walk in with a steelbook is the day that you must be dying.
Yeah, that was kind of. I didn't expect to get 3 of these. There are 5.
4, 5.
There are 5 total.
I'd like to know where that money's coming from, but
Don't ask about that. Don't ask about my side businesses.
We have a great show for you in store today. We are going to be talking the recently announced Marvel's What If series, which will be an animated series following the very popular comic run that followed, what if Loki found Thor's hammer?
Yeah.
What if Jane Foster was Thor, which actually happened. But
yeah,
we'll get to that as well. We will be talking about the not so great 2019 start to the video game industry and what it means moving forward.
Yeah.
And then finally, we will be doing our very first versus battle. Thank you very much, Matt Reppert, for the ideas. And we will be talking Battlefield 1 versus Battlefield 5. And we have a couple of great guests here today. Rob Migliaccio is back on the show. And then my good friend who I've squatted up with on Battlefield 1 for many an hour, as well as Battlefield 5. Vin Spiritoso, I think I got that right. He'll tell me if I didn't later on. And that's it. So, as always, we'll start with some rants and raves. Do you have a rant? Because I have a rant.
You go first.
Okay, my rant. So, on my birthday, which was on Friday, I decided to go see Captain Marvel for the second time.
Okay.
In IMAX this time instead of Dolby Digital. I mean, Dolby Cinema.
Okay.
I always call it Dolby Digital because Dolby Digital is Dolby Digital. And it was a full theater. This is the week later from Captain Marvel's opening run. Very full theater.
Yeah.
It's the last IMAX showing at 9:15 p.m. too. Usually they're at like 10:30. But anyway, so we're 10 minutes in. You've seen it. It's, they're suiting up. They're about to go, get their spy. And all of a sudden, the video turns off.
Oh.
Yeah. The video turns off, and all you hear is Jude Law, Yanrog, talking. And for me, it's like, okay, well, it's not a huge deal. I've seen the movie, but I think almost everyone in that theater hadn't seen it yet. So you think, okay, easy fix. They'll rewind it a little bit and get it synced up with the sound. Well, half an hour later,
Ouch.
while they've managed to not only play commercial sound over the movie, but fast-forwarded the movie with commercial sounds and spoiled some things about the movie, do they just say, fuck it, and rewind and start the movie over? Which is what everybody wanted anyway.
Yeah.
But half an hour later, and of course people people were pretty good-spirited about it. They were cracking jokes, and people could have gotten mad. But what really pissed me off about the situation was the fact that AMC tried to play it cool afterwards and not have any staff around to, so people can either request a refund or, get a re-entry pass. For
normally that's what they do when the movie screws up.
There was no one. At that point, it's midnight. The theater's closing. But a good company would have a representative waiting.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's always that token family of people that will make it work and will find someone to complain to. And they went to the guy cleaning up the concession stand.
Ah, damn.
And got a rep. So I was like, because I was waiting around to see if anybody was going to do it. So I went there like, are you guys trying to get a refund? They're like, yeah. I was like, good. Here we go. So we got re-entry passes, which was nice. For me, it wasn't a huge deal. I'm an A-list member. I do like the $20 a month and could see 3 movies a
Humble
week.
brag, Julian.
It is a little bit of a humble brag. A-list, I will give a little shout out to AMC for A-list because $19.99 a month, they're going to be raising the price, I think, to $21.95. But still, you get to see 3 movies a week and in any format. It's not like Movie Pass.
Yeah.
Where
I'm seriously considering getting it myself because I looked at the lineup for movies that are coming out in 2019. There's actually not even just comic book movies, but
we got
there's quite a few
Dumbo and
movies.
Aladdin and Lion King.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few movies that I wouldn't mind seeing in theaters, and that was always one of my barriers to going to the movies is because it's such an expensive time out every time you go.
It's a good deal, and you get points, and you get priority concession line, so there could be a huge line, and then it'll be like, next premiere member, and I'm like, boom, Give me my popcorn.
So you're the one everybody gives the dirty looks to.
Oh, goddamn right. Absolutely. It's fantastic. You get that. You get if you're just like a normal Stubbs member, you get $5 Ticket Tuesdays, which is pretty fantastic as well. I like AMC. I used to be a Regal guy, but then they came out with A-List, and I was like, it's a ridiculously good deal.
It's kind of funny because you think that Regal would come out with their own program.
And Regal's bigger than AMC, which shocks me that they don't, but they haven't. I'm guessing that they will.
Probably something down the road because, I mean, as I said, I'd like to get it, but I hate driving to AMC Neshaminy every time I want to see it. It's not that bad. I know, but I'd much rather just go to Oxford Valley because it's right there.
It is right there, but then I don't get my IMAX or my Dolby Cinema, and I'm a
I know you're a sound nerd. I know you're a sound nerd. I know that you're all.
If you've ever been to my house, I have a
yes, you have the surround sound
system.
Yes,
it's a pain in the ass, but it's worth it. Mm-hmm. Do you have a rant?
I mean, nothing that I'm not particularly angry or ranting about anything. I mean, I picked up Crimes of Grindelwald Steelbook.
Doesn't sound like you actually had any issues at Best Buy this time.
I mean, they always have it. I just show up there when it opens on Tuesday morning at 10 in the morning, and they have what I want. Although, this Tuesday, Into the Spider-Verse is coming out. It doesn't, of course, I can't pre-order it on Best Buy's website for Oxford Valley for reasons that still... I don't know. I've yet to figure out.
And for reasons we don't know, they're not doing the Steelbook as a 4K release.
Yes, that actually surprises me because they're doing a 4K release, but it's not in the Steelbook. Now, I mean, I'm a Steelbook collector. I like collecting Steelbooks, obviously. I mean, I'm going to get the Steelbook this Tuesday, and
I have to.
And you asked me if I'm going to get a 4K copy. Eventually, I may.
Yeah.
Eventually, that day may come. When it drops in price. For some reason, Spider-Man stuff drops in price very quickly. Like
and
Spider-Man Homecoming
originally didn't have a 4K release. Either.
Yes, I actually my Blu-ray copy of Spider-Man Homecoming. I think I got that for sale for like $5 one day.
It's got to be a Sony thing.
It has
not a Marvel thing. It's got to be a Sony thing.
I mean. Hey, I mean, better for me because I'm not. If you don't want me to drop like $20, 30 something dollars for your movie,
it's like $34.99 for the Steelbook. I think this one's $27, which is fine.
I mean, that's kind of standard for just Blu-ray, DVD, digital copy that you all get. So, yeah, I mean, and also while I was walking around, I scored the first two, or the second and third of the new Planet of the Apes trilogy. Which, if you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. That is how you remake a series. The funny thing is, the series ties into the terrible Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie, which blows my mind that something this awesome is essentially a setup for a movie that bad.
Wait a second. These are supposed to be actual prequels, not a complete reboot of the franchise?
Yes. Basically, the original, when Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out, it was explicitly said that this movie essentially sets up the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie. They're not redoing the whole Planet of the Apes series from the beginning, at least not that I've heard recently. But they basically were like, we're just gonna it was almost like they just took a gamble and just said, we're just gonna make a new Planet of the Apes prequel, just to kind of show you how it could have and they could have ended it after the first movie because the first movie did a nice setup, but then the second and third movies kind of just built it up more, and it pretty much these three movies are what established Andy Serkis, in my opinion, as, I mean, obviously he did Gollum, but a legitimate fantastic motion capture actor who, I mean, honestly, he should be in the running for a Best Actor nomination at some point, just because of the work he puts in. I think that'll
happen sooner rather than later.
I mean, eventually, I feel it will happen, but I mean, I also think that there's Hollywood kind of poo-poos it because you're like,
what doesn't Hollywood poo-poo? But
because but. As I said, if you haven't seen the entire prequel trilogy, watch it. It's fantastic. I bought the second and third movies at Best Buy, and I ordered the first movie because they're all on sale.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Well, I think if we're done with some rants and general off-topic, we will get right to...
The Permitted Minute.
The Permitted Minute. And we will kick that off, and I kind of just missed my mark for that, so we're going to go 4, 3, 2, 1. 24 hours from when you listen to the show, Disney will close on their acquisition of 21st Century Fox and its properties. Sticking with Disney, Marvel Studios is developing a pretty awesome What If TV series for Disney Plus. We will be getting to that a little later on.
Captain Marvel Brie Larson was sipping on hater tears over the weekend as the film brought in $153 million domestically, Marvel's seventh highest opening. Even bigger, it brought in $455 million worldwide, the second largest opening for a superhero movie ever. Because of this, Marvel has racked in over $18 billion. The full theatrical trailer for Aladdin released this week, and while we still have our doubts, maybe, just maybe, it'll be good. Also, it was also announced that Firefly / Rogue One / just about everything star Alan Tudyk will voice Jafar's pet parrot Iago. Doctor Strange 2 director Scott Derrickson dropped one hell of a bombshell tweet that he later deleted, hinting that the Submariner Namor, whatever, may be appearing in the sequel, tweeting an image of Fear itself, the Deep #1. And we're going to go further. James Gunn has been confirmed to be back on directing Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
And we didn't make it, and I'll do number 7. I told you we weren't going to make it this week.
Yeah, you know what? I tried, okay? I tried my best.
We didn't make it. I'm happy we did. We've been too much on a roll. We'll read number 7, and I'm sure everybody knows this already, but the final theatrical trailer for Avengers Endgame dropped this week, and man... My heart is ready.
They didn't... The thing that still blows my mind is that they have not shown Thanos at all.
Why would they?
I mean, just to show, like... Because part of my concern now is how much is he in the freaking movie?
I think he's going to have a major role. They wouldn't have put at the end of Infinity War, Thanos will return.
No, otherwise. I know. I mean, the thing, he could be in there for 5 minutes, and technically you're not lying and saying,
it's a 3-hour movie.
No, I know. But I mean, to be honest with you, and Thanos was the best part of Infinity War. His backstory, his relationship with Gamora and all that other fun stuff.
One of the most well thought out movie villains ever.
Yes. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm actually interested to see how the world has been affected by the snap, because everything in the trailers has shown that it is dark, it is dreary, because I think there's that sign in one of the trailers outside.
What do we do?
What do we do now that everybody's gone? Everybody's gone.
And
things like that.
They're in the trailer. They spot. I think Ant-Man is outside of his former house, and it looks like Walking Dead. Like everything's grown over. There's like missing signs.
Yeah.
It's bad. Shit's gone down. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting, I'm going to touch on this very, very quickly, is that my huge guess, I think, is going to be right. Cities are still sprawling because of the snap, there's going to be a massive refugee crisis. And where do refugees go? They come to America, and they go to the most populated areas. Cities are still going to be thriving, and that's where everybody's going to be. If you notice in the first trailer, Liberty Island is just stacked up with boats.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a massive refugee crisis.
Yeah, I'm actually, honestly, one of the things I'm most interested in for Endgame is just seeing what the snap did to Earth, like what it did to the world, the population of...
And they're not going to shy away from it.
No, I mean, it seems like, as I said, they're going down that dark road because, obviously it seems like Steve Rogers has that PTSD about it and things like that. So I'm interested to see how they portray the snap.
Yep, me too. When we come back, we will be continuing on talking about Marvel. Rob Migliaccio will be joining us. He's coming back to the show after he joined us talking about Daredevil. We're excited to talk about Marvel's What If when we come back. Stick around. Welcome back to the show, and we are now joined by our good friend, Rob Migliaccio. Welcome back to the show, man.
Hi, guys. How are you?
So, we are talking about the upcoming Marvel's What If series that's announced for Disney+. It'll be an animated series, and if you didn't hear at the beginning of the show, the series is basically, well, what if Loki found Thor's hammer, or what if Mary Jane was Spider-Man, or endless possibilities. It's just yet another awesome announcement by Marvel for what's seeming to be an awesome streaming service from Disney. The show will be animated, and like I said already, one of the episodes will be what if Loki found Thor's hammer. Do we like that? Is that a good way to start the show? Is this a cool concept?
I mean, it really is, because it just throws in that monkey wrench into everything that we already know. And if you're just a casual fan of the Marvel universe, Loki as a bad guy, quote unquote, and you just have that come in and say, you know what, maybe Loki is the worthy one. It could be. It's just there's so much that can be done with this what if program. It's just amazing. I can't wait for it.
I mean, as long as they have fun with it, that's the thing I want out of this, what if series is just don't take it seriously. Just those crazy ideas in the Marvel universe that you've always wanted to do if you were a creator on the show. Roll with it. Just, like Loki finds Thor's hammer. Okay, great. I'm totally down with that idea and that premise, and I'm gonna keep my eye on it. I'm still at this point. I don't plan to get Disney Plus.
You're not gonna get Disney Plus.
No.
I'm getting Disney Plus.
Really? I thought
I'm getting it. I'm getting it for the Rogue One show alone.
I don't see
switching fandoms.
The thing is, and we've talked about this before, and I know in our first episode I've said this, is that eventually all the streaming and all this crap is going to come to the point where you're going to be paying about as much in all your streaming services as you do for cable. So at some point, it's I might just put my foot down and be like, maybe I'll break. Maybe the What If will look good enough. Maybe the Rogue One show will look good enough.
Loki, a Loki show, a Vision and Scarlet Witch show.
I mean, Vision and Scarlet Witch are pretty low on my that's not selling me. That's not. Yeah,
I could definitely give or take with that. I mean, they're great in the films, but if they're not going to be, did they announce that it's going to be the same?
It's gonna. Yeah, all the actors are signed on.
Then it might be worth a watch, but I mean, going off with Disney Plus, there's just going to be so much to offer. I mean, every single Disney movie that you can imagine. The vault is no more.
Yeah, they were talking about that on Preston and Steve, how they used to use the vault as like getting so off subject, but it's a pretty cool thing, like how they used to use the vault as like a huge marketing tool. Like, get this movie because once it's gone, it's never coming back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Disney Plus.
Let's see if they have Song of the South on Disney Plus.
I'm making a note of that for future.
That terrible racist movie. Yeah.
Let's face it, a lot of Disney back in the day. I think we say this every episode. Wasn't exactly
the Crows and Dumbo.
Politically correct.
Can't wait to see that in a Dumbo movie.
Are we thinking that this is going to be hosted and then have like animated segments, because that's going to make a lot of what the show is too? Like, do they host and introduce it? Are they going to get like kind of like a comedic host?
Well, I think with it's kind of I was looking it up. The comics were kind of based off the Watcher. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Tatu or something.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the big bald guy that you see in
with like the collar.
I forget which one he makes.
The Watchers. They're the Watchers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they introduced this into the comics and say, well, the stories as is. What if we were told you there are different universes, and throws in these different crazy ideas? So I mean that could be interesting to see. As a quote unquote host, I don't think there needs to be a host. I mean, if you go with a host, you kind of make it kind of like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
You have Rod Serling, basically say, all right, well, what if, Loki found Thor's hammer? Or do the Avengers theme.
Rob, we'll stick with you because you're our guest. I want to know, are there any what if moments that you're dying to see in this show?
See, it's hard because we have so many comics that are basically the what ifs come to life already. I think one of the top ones would be Jane Foster becoming Thor.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have that in the comics and whatnot, but they can go a different route with that.
Yeah.
I think another one was, and thank God the Fox portion is coming into Disney. What if the Fantastic Four?
Thor is fantastic.
Yes, he is. Glowing locks of hair.
Fantastic Thor. Does the hair flip?
The Fantastic Four, not getting their powers, and seeing how they would live their lives, and B, having different powers, which I kind of We kind of already had that with that horrible Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Don't want to talk about that. We're not going down that. But we've seen that in the films. Yeah. But that could be something interesting. I know another big one would have been, what if Uncle Ben lived?
That'd be interesting.
So that's always... I know they toyed around with that a couple of times, but that could be very interesting, because at that point you could have, Spider-Man could be either a hero or he could be a villain, and that could also be, that could be a two-parter.
Yeah.
What if Spider-Man was a villain?
Yeah. How about you?
I'd be interested in seeing, as I said, have fun with it. Just, I want to see original, fresh ideas. I mean, I'm not as huge a comic book guy as, some other people in this room, obviously, so I can't just flip through the Rolodex and say, like, this would be awesome to see. But I mean, say, the Fantastic Four, like, what if Reed Richards was like the Thing, essentially, or something like that? Like, you just kind of flipping their powers around to different, and seeing how they would react to it and things like that. I mean, what if Doctor Doom was a good guy, or some things like that? I mean, imagine Doctor Doom as a member of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
They actually very recently did a run called, I forget if it's the Invincible Iron Man or it's or the Superior Iron Man. There was Superior Spider, but where Victor Von Doom, because Tony Stark is basically in a self-induced coma, Victor Von Doom reinvents himself. Everybody thought he died after Secret Wars as Iron Man and is fooling around being a good guy. It's really interesting. It was a really cool story. For me, I'm a romantic. I like romance in stories. I know that's cheesy as hell, but it's the truth. I would really love to see, what if Logan was married to Jean and Cyclops was the one kind of swooning over Jean instead of Logan. I'd love one of those stories. I think that would be cool. Sticking with the X-Men, I would love to see, and they do it all the time anyway, but see certain members of the X-Men who have never been in the Avengers before. Like, what if these X-Men were Avengers, and what if these Avengers were X-Men? That kind of thing. I'm so thrilled that Marvel's getting the X-Men back. Like that, I'm always in X-Men first, Avengers second. I grew up with the X-Men more than anything. I grew up with like the cheesy old Iron Man series, which made me fall in love with not actually Iron Man, but War Machine, Rhodey. So I love that they're getting the rights back and they could fool around with it. That's another one that I could just boom, like, what if Rhodey was Iron Man and what if Tony was War Machine? So many cool things that they could do. We already kind of touched on Disney Plus shaping up to be pretty solid. Anything else that we want to touch on with What If? Is there anything that, like, length, any other stories?
I'm curious to know how long these episodes are going to be of this What If series. Are they an hour? Are they half an hour? I mean, are they as long as they need to be to tell the story?
Honestly,
for some reason, I'm seeing like a half hour.
I feel like that doesn't give you time to explore it.
I mean, here's the thing. Going with a half hour, you have, the animated series already. You have Spider-Man, you have Avengers, you have all that on like Disney XD and whatnot. They do a good story, but it's a quick story, and then they go on with the season and whatnot. These are one-offs. So, I mean, I think if they can get away with 45 minutes to an hour, it'll be pretty good. It'll be a quick thing that I can sit down real quick. It's not related to anything else with a season. I can watch it real quick. I can go off and do something and then come back later on.
Well, yeah, it's interesting if, like, let's say you watch like a Disney movie or you watch like a Marvel movie and you're not quite done. It's like, oh, I'm into it. I want to watch something else real quick, and you can watch that. Here's actually something to kind of go off of that. What if this is opening the door maybe for kind of a remake or a rebirth of awesome Marvel animated shows, like, and DC killed it too with Batman and Superman animated series. But what if this is opening the door for another, animated X-Men series? They fooled around with it a couple of years ago with Wolverine and the X-Men, which was fantastic and too short-lived. Do you guys want to see like some more animated Avengers? Do you want to see more animated X-Men? Animated something that doesn't get a lot of love, like from the comics?
I mean, my personal feeling is that basically, DC has essentially owned the animated movie series thing for a while now, and I feel like this is Marvel, Disney, whatever's way of kind of like getting their foot in the door, and they're going to try and open it and step through. and basically eventually beat DC at their own game. So I mean, I would love to see animated X-Men. I grew up obviously with because the animated X-Men show is still probably one of my favorite themes in TV history.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just that whole guitar riff and everything is just awesome. It's iconic, and I'd love to see more shows like that.
Let's be honest here. All of the 90s Marvel cartoons were freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, the Spider-Man animated series, like our great theme. The Incredible
what was
Hulk.
even better than the 90s Spider-Man? Was the 60s Spider-Man with Iceman and Starfire.
Oh, no. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Spider-Man and His Amazing
Friends.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my God. Yeah, there you go. I want to see that. Screw it.
You want a remake of
I
that?
want a remake of that. Because, well, what do you call it? It's great because, I mean, if you haven't seen Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends, please look it up on YouTube because it is some of the stuff is so corny in there. Was it one of the characters, Video Man?
Yep.
Who is a nerd and gets sucked into, get this, an arcade machine, and then comes back as a pixelated
something
source of energy.
But it had the awesome like Batman, the like Adam West series, like transitions, and for God knows what reason, Wolverine had an Australian accent.
Oh my God!
It was really.
Oh my no! That what you call that episode? Like now I'm thinking about it. The episode where Starfire. I'm not Starfire. Wow. Wrong. No, it's Firestar.
Oh, it is Firestar.
Starfire is DC. I'm sorry.
I'm correcting myself. That up.
Firestar. Angela goes back to the X Mansion for a reunion, and she's meeting. She brought along Spider-Man and Iceman because Iceman was part of it, and Spider-Man's a guest. That's how these things work in the social circles, and they're going along, and they're meeting all these people. Like Colossus has this strong, thick Russian accent, and Nightcrawler has this. I don't know what kind of accent he was had. It was like a weird one, but yeah. Like
Wolverine, like picking up food with his claws with his Australian accent, and that it was just, oh
my God! Now I want to go home and watch this.
That's what I watch. When I'd be at my grandmother's house, like I'd go to the library and they'd have like the tapes of it, and that's what I'd get because that's what there was. Such a great series. I'm really looking forward to the Marvel's What If. I think it's a really cool concept, and I hope it does open the door for more animated series. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Rob, you're sticking around. We are going to be talking about the quite lackluster 2019 start the video game industry has and what it means for the future of gaming. Stick around. We're back to Everything is Permitted, and if you haven't noticed, 2019 has not been the best start for the video game industry, at least financially, as well as review-wise. There's been a few games that were being extremely looked forward to, like Anthem and the latest Far Cry, and, they are underperforming in sales so far in 2019. Matt, you gave me these numbers.
Yeah.
The industry made a huge $1.1 billion in 2018.
I think in January or February, the first quarter. I forget which specifically period it was. It wasn't throughout the year. It was just in a month or a quarter.
Yeah,
and it was 1.1 billion in 2018, and now it's like 800 something million at the same point.
So
that's a 300 million drop just from the previous year.
It's not good.
That's not good. That is not healthy. Also, considering all the layoffs that have happened. Companies have announced record profits.
So someone's lying, obviously.
Someone's lying. I mean, I think Bobby Kotick, who is the CEO of Activision, I think it is, if I recall correctly. I mean, like he earns like millions of dollars, but then they laid off. I think it was like 10% of their company's workforce.
Well, that's the typical business model, right? Pay yourself, millions of dollars, then give your workers shit, basically. It's not very good. Rob, let me ask you, is this drop due to gamers being a little bit smarter about maybe, there's a lot of talk about people basically not pre-ordering games anymore, or at least waiting for reviews to drop first. What's going on?
Personally, I mean, I like pre-ordering my games.
Same.
Going to Best Buy, I'm still part of the Gamers Club. Gamers Club unlocked until they you talked about it in the past.
Yes.
But like they offered, I think what is it, like $10 back if you pre-order?
If you pre-order certain games, yes.
Yeah,
At the end of the year, they tend to do that.
Yeah, it's a $10 gift card back into it, so it's kind of like more of an incentive for me to pre-order it. If I know it's a game that I really want to play, I'm going to pre-order it. I want to get it. If it's something that I'm not really sure about, maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll see, my friends put it on Facebook and whatnot, get some of their reviews. It's hard to say because nowadays you're dropping $60 for a game, and then later down the line, it might be like half off if the reviews aren't all that great. Mm-hmm. They're not winning any awards or anything like that.
76.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that. That had a huge buzz about it, being like, this is going to be a great addition to Fallout. And everybody's saying that it sucks. I don't have.
Our guest later on might have an opinion on that. I think Vin still plays Fallout. I still pre-order games, not as much as I used to. Like, I'm a huge fan of the show. Vin played the show too a little bit. I laid off the series for a little bit. I didn't like, you let me borrow 17 and I didn't like it. I think the last one I owned was 13, and I finally got 18 and really enjoyed it. I think they finally like upgraded the graphics, but like even with Bryce Harper on the cover, like, I'm not going to pre-order the show. Like, it'll be there. It's not going anywhere. I didn't pre-order the Division 2 because Division 1 was ridiculously disappointing. But now I've had two friends, you, Matt, and who was over at my party yesterday, saying it was good. I can't remember who told me it was good, but it makes me want to get it now, from word of mouth from other people instead of maybe IGN, who may or may not get paid to give good reviews.
Yeah.
I just didn't see any need to pre-order, and I don't believe you.
I did pre-order Division 2, but I literally pre-ordered it 8 o'clock on Thursday night, the day before it came out.
Smart, yeah.
That was because I played the beta, and I was like, all right, this is solid. I enjoyed the beta. So I own Division 1 like you. I was extremely disappointed in it. I felt the enemies were just so bullet spongy. I'm literally just
horrible.
Just shooting a guy in the face.
A headshot should be a headshot, and a headshot wasn't a headshot.
Yeah, and the thing is, and Division 2 has fixed a lot of those issues. Like the enemies, they can still take a couple shots depending on what you're using, but they go down.
Yeah.
But however, we're kind of getting into the positives
that's
of
good.
Division 2. But the thing is, though, is that I actually I have a Google Docs list of games that are coming out and roughly what they're going to cost, just so I can kind of plan what I might like to purchase. Anthem was on there. Far Cry New Dawn was on there. I haven't bought either yet.
Yeah.
Anthem, I've heard it's a meh experience from people. The videos I saw of it did not blow me away. Graphically, it looked nice.
It's being compared to Destiny 1's launch.
Yeah. And Far Cry New Dawn, one of the things that threw me off was it came out too soon, because my personal feeling was that I don't feel like the game probably had the polish or the work put on it that other Far Cry games that have longer.
And that's Ubisoft, right?
That's
Ubisoft seems to just pump out game after game after game after game, and sometimes they have sprawling issues.
Yeah, but honestly, though, I think that the whole revenue thing comes down to the fact that, and I've said this before, the game industry is a terrible monster. It really is, and I love video games. I grew up playing video games. I was a PC gamer in the 90s, and I'm a console / slightly PC gamer in my current adulthood.
Your current adulthood.
I know. You have. It's a hard explanation. But the thing is, though, is that it's just think of what the game industry has done just over the last 5 years. You don't even have to go further back than that. Think of loot boxes, microtransactions, the DLC that was a part of the game that was cut but was sold as a separate thing. Destiny 1 did this, and I loved Destiny 1.
Yep.
But the practices of the video game industry, eventually they're going to bite it, which they kind of are starting to, because now there's almost this cottage industry to basically tear down these AAA game release launches like Anthem, just for whether it's fair or not. that, you know, you have YouTubers who are just like, this game sucks, and they make all these jokes about it and all this negative press and all that stuff like that. So, I mean, just their business practices over the last 5 years have just been terrible. The way they've treated their employees has been terrible. And then you have this bad press where it's like, oh, we made like, you know, like I think EA earns like $8 billion in 1 year, and it's like, and then they lay off people. Like, you're as profitable as you've ever been.
Well, what they're doing is, instead of hiring permanent employees, now they do what a lot of tech companies do, and now instead of, you know, hiring someone to be part of the studio, they're hiring independent contractors, either through a company or individually. It's becoming like the main practice of the world, and it's fucked up. But I mean, that's the world we live in. I worked on 2 separate contracts once at the same company as a techie, and that's the world we live in right now. But I want to continue on kind of about gamers being more cautious, and if that's maybe why there's been this drop. I think another big thing that we haven't touched on yet is that Battlefront 2 kind of blew the lid off of these terrible practices when they found out that you could basically pay to win for that game via these loot boxes, and EA had to do probably the most damage control they've ever had to do. How much has the whole loot box fiasco, you know, lost money for these companies? Rob, I want to start with you.
See, for me, I'm not a big fan of in-game purchases. I paid $50, $60 for the actual game. Why the hell do I want to pay more for an upgraded, you know, item that's going to be pretty much obsolete when the next game comes out?
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to transfer over. It's not going to do anything like that. Why do I want to shell out an extra $10 for a randomized weapon, so to say? It's not
or outfit or
the outfits I really don't care about. I really don't care about. I don't care about customizing my gun or weapon or anything like that. I want to play the game. I want to get through the game, and I want to win it. If it's an, you know, RPG, I want to go back and replay it again. It's not something that I like doing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and as I said, the video game industry, like I think, you know, YouTuber Jim Sterling kind of said it best, is that video game companies don't want some of the money. They want all of the fucking money. Like, they basically, their business practices are squeezing everything that they can out of the consumer now, and they don't care about the long-term repercussions, because they want to make record profits rather than make like a good profit. But the thing is that the record profits hurt them long term, because people, like, they look at these games now and they're like, I got burned by this last game that I bought, by the Fallout 76, by the Anthem, by the Destiny, by the this, by the that. I'm not buying your next game when it comes out. I'm not buying, you know, Destiny 2, or I'm buying this, or I'm buying that, because I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I didn't purchase it, but like a game like Fallout 76 makes me very wary of buying another Fallout game from Bethesda, and I'm worried about the Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
What the hell are they gonna do to that when that comes out? Then, you know, Elder Scrolls 6, I think it is, or yeah, is it 5 or 6? I can't remember.
I think it's 6.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what they do, it lowers trust and confidence in their product, because I like to play a game, beat it, put it on my shelf, and say that was a great ride. I'll talk it up to people and say, like,
Horizon Zero Dawn is
Horizon Zero Dawn, it was a good game. The first remake of the Tomb Raider series, like, I still love it. I mean, games like that where give me a story that I can play through, and I mean, or the Uncharted series.
And once I pay for the game, don't have to pay another cent unless I want, like, the additional, like, for Horizon Zero Dawn, like the Frozen Wilds, which I didn't purchase for months and months and months.
Yeah,
I was happy with the base game. And Rob brings up a very good point. I'm paying close, like, it's on the upwards close to $100. It's not under 50. We're going up towards the hundreds when you're paying $60. $60. Go ahead.
Sorry, do you want, like, oh no, finish your point.
Go ahead. I want to hear.
No, I'm going to tell you you want to know the most insane thing that I've recently seen from the game industry. A game series that I've loved for years is Dead or Alive. The season pass, which is all the costumes and stuff like that they're going to put out for the game. Throw out a number for me. How much do you think that season pass costs?
$125.
$92.
Yeah. And you know who else did that? After all the fucking backlash? Bungie and not Activision anymore, because they're gone.
Yeah.
But with Forsaken, part of the listen, I gave Destiny 2 2 separate chances to fix their shit. I had already paid. I'd bought the season pass for the base game. So I'd paid for Warmind and I'd paid for the Curse of Osiris.
Yeah.
Both were shitty DLCs. They were horrible. Some people will say Warmind was okay. I think you liked Warmind. I'm sorry.
It was okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. Neither was great.
There was absolutely nothing about either of those DLCs that said, okay, I want to continue being unthrilled and I want to continue giving Bungie my money. Real quick. Then they say we fixed all the problems that you're complaining about. We're releasing Forsaken, okay? $40 for the base alone of Forsaken. And then, if you want the season pass, they're doing a fucking season pass on a DLC. It's $80 if you want that and the game. Are you kidding me? I've already spent $60 for the game, and you want me to pay you $80 more? Are you kidding? No, absolutely not. Like, it's all about money, and that drives me crazy.
Now, I totally understand and agree with what you said about the Forsaken Season Pass and all that stuff. I will give Destiny 2 and Bungie credit is that the game, the way the plot works, the story, like the season of the Drifter just started, and
I hear it's good.
They're doing, like, the way, because you have to choose, do you side with the Vanguard or the Drifter? And it even says, like, this could affect future content for this character. So right now, 2 of my characters sided with the Vanguard, and I had 1 side with the Drifter. And they're doing this whole plot line where the Drifter might not be what he says, that he coverts with dark forces and stuff like that. And one of the rumored things they're apparently working on for Destiny 3 is that you're going to have light and dark powers.
Which would be cool.
And that's cool to set that up.
But there has to be a lot done right now for me to say I'm going to reinstall Destiny and pay this stupid amount of money to get to a point where I'm going to pick up Destiny 3. Because listen, you said it already, Destiny 1 was one of my favorite games ever, and I took like an 8-month break from Destiny 1. I came back to it, joined a clan, fell in love. Like, the last year of Destiny, vanilla Destiny, was just absolutely some of the most fun I've ever had gaming. But Destiny 2 just dropped the ball so much again. We're turning this into a Destiny segment, and so, one day maybe we'll do a whole... Go ahead.
So let me ask you guys, do you guys think DLCs are a blessing or a curse or a mix of good and evil?
Free DLC.
I like that.
Free DLC. And we'll talk about it in a little bit when we talk about Battlefield. But if I'm paying $60 for a game, I want free DLC. Like, if you're going to tell me that your game is going to have a shelf life of like 5 to 6 years, like something like a real MMO, or just like a story that's going to continue, maybe I'll pay $10 for an expansion. But other than that, I shouldn't be having to pay. If I am paying $60 for a base game, I'm not paying any more money. At this point, I've made it a rule.
I agree.
If you want me to spend money on expansions and DLC, make your game free to play and make your money off the DLCs then.
My feeling is I'm not necessarily against paid DLC. If it's because the thing is that, like, World of Warcraft has been going on for how many years? You pay for every expansion that comes out, but that's because they're fine-tuning the experience, they're adding new stuff. If the DLC was specifically created and added on or whatever like that, fine. People need to be paid for their labor and stuff like that. I'm okay with that. However, if it's something you cut out of the game,
yes,
and you're now selling it back to me because, we want, I mean, also make it a reasonable price, $10, $20, that should cover most DLC that you're going to put out. I don't mind paying for DLC as I go. You don't need to sell an $80 or $100 or whatever season pass, and for something like Dead or Alive, like, that's insane that there's $90-something for outfits for the characters. Like, are you shitting me? Like, that's crazy.
Very quickly, let me make this one statement. Bungie's biggest mistake was making Destiny 2. And I mean that as in, they should have refined it like they do World of Warcraft, like Blizzard does for World of Warcraft, and made Destiny 2 an expansion. And they should have just kept making expansions and expansions and expansions. I could deal with a not-so-great expansion. I can't deal with a game that is a new game screwing things up again and then expecting me to pay more money all over again for like another $60. That's my issue.
I mean, well, let me ask. I'm sorry, Matt. You put up a good point with MLB The Show.
Yep.
Every single year they come out with a new game, Madden, NHL, FIFA, all that FIFA. Each year it comes out. The next year is pretty much obsolete. Do you see them? And the answer is probably no, because let's be honest, it's a cash cow.
Oh God, people buy Madden every single year.
Exactly. Do you think they could? Do you really think, like, in the future, like, if they see, like, okay, well, kind of declining a little bit, let's go ahead and call it Madden whatever, and then expand on it every year?
Not for sports games. Nah. People want, like, I
want the new draft class.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, offer that as
they
did
it with PES. Pro Evolution Soccer.
I'm still legit surprised that, like, the FIFA games haven't had, like, stadium packs sold separately. Like, oh, you want MLS stadiums, guys? Pay $20 to have
spend
talent
$20
and
to
all
have
these.
every MLS stadium.
Oh no, I would too, and I'm not gonna lie.
That's a great
if you're paying attention.
Yes, can I customize this? I would like to take out Yankee Stadium, Red Bulls Arena.
The Yankees play in a dirt park now. We don't know what happened, but.
Matt, you already touched on companies like Activision, Ubisoft, EA, Blizzard. They've suffered massive layoffs. Do you think that there's any kind of chance that the video game industry might be in danger?
It's not healthy. It's
not
not a healthy industry.
Is it a product of all the loot box backlash? Is it because of just the loss in sales?
So basically, and I have to follow up on it because I know, but EA got dealt a huge blow because basically in, I think it's Belgium or the Netherlands, loot boxes were ruled to be gambling.
Yep.
And they were, and the high court in one of those two countries basically said, you're taking them out. You're removing them. And now that's opening the door, because now other countries might be like, if it's gambling, we can tax it differently, we can handle it differently, or you can't have gambling mechanics in a game for children. And EA apparently was like, for a while, they were like, we're going to fight this, we're going to beat this, and now they apparently just surrendered. They said, all right, in FIFA, it's not going to have loot boxes in this game in this country. And that, to me, is because, like, basically, you know, and I already referenced him, but Jim Sterling did say it best, is that he said that if the game industry doesn't start regulating itself, governments will do it for them.
And that's the last thing.
And you don't want that, because they don't know video games. Like, do I want some 70-year-old senator to be like, we need to talk about loot boxes right now? Like, I mean, I'm like, they're gonna look at the shit that happened.
What's a loot box again?
Yeah, like, look what happened to video games in the 90s with Mortal Kombat and the whole, like, think of the children. The children. I mean, I don't want that era of government oversight to come back into gaming. Like,
to be fair, babyalities are still pretty fucking brutal. let's be honest. Babyology.
But it's kind of like, you know, you put up a good point with you know, governments coming in and saying, okay, well, you guys kind of have to regulate these loot boxes and in-app purchases and whatnot. I mean, you know, every once in a while you'll get the story of, oh, hey, my 10-year-old kid racked up $100 phone bill because they just kept playing and getting, you know, kept pressing yes to, you know, extra lives or upgrades on their phone, you know, and
Fortnite.
Like Fortnite, exactly.
Yeah, oh God.
And it's kind of like that. At that point, you're the sad sack of a parent going back to the company and saying, "Oh, well, I made the mistake, so, you know, I want to make it." So, you know, that's kind of
I mean, it's to me that the industry is not healthy when you make record profits and you're just laying off people left and right, you know, in the various departments and things like that, because that, to me, is now the company is trying to justify, like, its profits and stuff like that to shareholders, because the shareholders will jump out at the slightest downward trend. And these kinds of actions of laying off people, even though you're making all this money, to me, that's a sign of, like, look, we need to cover this up. We need to make sure that we can go to the shareholders meeting and say, like, yes, we made like $100 million more than we did last year.
Yeah. Last question, last minute here, very briefly. Is this loss of money? Is this loss of employees? Is this a sign of things to come? Yes or no?
I'll say yes.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think that they have to get their shit together very soon, or otherwise people are just going to stop buying games.
I mean, and
at least they will stop buying them at full price, and that is where the issue comes in.
I'll just do a quick endpoint for myself here, but I feel that like if the AAA companies go down, that can only help like the indie games that deliver those compelling stories that you really like to play. That can only help them. So
you can also have also go back to where we're having the resurgence of retro gaming. Where look at the Switch. You have to purchase their membership in order to get the Nintendo.
Oh, but it's
NES,
so worth it.
But it's so
so
damn worth it.
I love
but you're
my
going
Switch.
back and you're playing Super Mario and whatnot. I'm really hoping that they put in Super Mario 64.
I need some SNES and 64 games on there.
So,
I need
GoldenEye.
I need
That's why I need.
stop screen watching.
But that's what it might revert to ultimately down the road. So who knows?
I need Zelda Ocarina of Time back.
Oh,
that's what I need.
Hey, they have tons of on it.
When we come back, my good friend Vin Spiritoso joins us. We are going to be doing our first ever versus segment, discussing Battlefield 1 versus Battlefield 5. That's next. Welcome back to Everything is Permitted, and we are joined by my very good friend and squad mate, Vin Spiritoso. Welcome to the show for the first time.
No problem. Pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you. And it is our first ever versus segment, and I'm going to let Matt take it away with the rules of the game.
So basically, I came up with the idea of versus, which obviously is not a new concept, but basically the rules that I wanted to put down for versus, at least when it came to the video games, when comparing a video game series, is it has to be in the same generation. It's not fair to compare a video game that, say, was made 20 years ago versus today, unless you specifically set that out at the beginning of the battle that, hey, graphics are not factored into this whole versus battle. So for today's battle, we're going to do Battlefield 1 versus Battlefield 5. Both came out for the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 and basically the next-gen systems. Yep. So I figured it'd be a perfect way to start because I have some different opinions about both games. I've played both and looking forward to discussing them.
And Vin, you are kind of constantly in contact with guys from, developers from DICE and stuff. And you want to start, we have this list of what we're going to verse here. Do you want to do these in this order? Do you want to start with?
Basically, I'm just going to start it out just as a general overview of it, and that between Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, and we can break down the nitty-gritty as to why each of these topics that we have. I like Battlefield 1 over Battlefield 5. I feel that 1 is the superior game. As I said, we'll break down the nitty-gritty in a few minutes, but overall, I like 1 over 5.
Yeah, this one's tough. I go back and forth sometimes. I know Battlefield 5's a little bit of a work in progress. They have this new live service that they're doing, so they're going to be adding stuff. But for the initial launch, I like the gameplay better of Battlefield 5, but I do think Battlefield 1 captures the overall Battlefield experience and Battlefield moments.
So, yeah, I think we're all unanimous, which doesn't make for very good verses, but I think that Battlefield 1 so far, who knows what's going to happen later down the line with Battlefield 5, but Battlefield 1 is a superior game because not only we're going to get down for the nitty-gritty of the maths, but I just want to talk about something very briefly. Matt, you finally you came over and showed me They Shall Not Grow Old,
yes,
which captured the absolute shit show and horror that World War I was.
Yes.
And it immediately makes me think Battlefield 1 did a very good job of that as well. Battlefield 1 is a violent game and so much going on. So after watching that, it just really, I've seen a lot of World War II games throughout my gaming career.
I was about to say that and I've played like probably at least a dozen World War II games throughout my life. Battlefield 1 sticks out because it is World War I. I think the only other World War game that I can recall playing it's a PC game called Verdun. And if you want to play a game where you're going to die a lot, Verdun is your jam. But, one Battlefield 1, I would say, is inspired by World War I because, I mean, it's almost cinematic the way Battlefield 1 portrays everything, but it's, as I said, like, it sticks out because of its uniqueness. I
agree with that. It captured more of the history of Battlefield 1 versus Battlefield 5. It's a little more arcadey, and they don't really cover a lot of the scenes from World War II.
Yep. Well, let's get down into the verses of mechanics. We will start with shooting. Do we like the shooting mechanics in Battlefield 1 better or in Battlefield 5? We'll start with our guest first.
I like Battlefield 5. The reason is what they did is they revamped all of the gameplay mechanics. It's called random bullet deviation, which in Battlefield 1, occasionally you would have a random miss added to your firing, even if you're aiming right at the person. So that would lead subconsciously to a little bit of frustration. What they did was they brought in Florian, who's an ex-esports gamer, and had him revamp all of the core gameplay. So where you shoot or aim the reticle is where it's going to hit. So what it allows you to do is become more practiced and better at your own gameplay mechanics over time versus kind of a random setup. So I actually like the game, and sniping's a lot of fun too.
Yes, it is.
know.
I'm going to get to that.
I go with Battlefield 1. I felt I like the shooting of it, and I'm kind of delving into the weapons a little bit, but I feel the weapons have more oomph, and I like, because there were times in Battlefield 5 where I'm shooting people, and it just felt like I wasn't doing the same damage or putting them down as quickly as I did in 1. So, and as I know, I'm kind of getting into weapons.
No, that's fine. I have to go with Battlefield 5 as well. Like Vin said, sniping. Now listen, I was primarily a sniper in Battlefield 1 as well. And I went right back to that in Battlefield 5. In Battlefield 1, sniping was actually really difficult with those rifles because there was so much more bullet drop off than there is
it was so satisfying once you mastered it.
Oh, it was. It absolutely was. And I loved that. But, man, in Battlefield 5, when I'm just, like, picking people off, like, 3 headshots in a row, Vin, we've talked about this a couple of times, like, that skull that you get.
Yeah.
And the sound that it makes, it's just so satisfying.
Yeah, Battlefield has always killed it with the headshots.
Yeah.
Like, because it's always that ping, and you almost hear the helmet flying off when they get hit, and it's like a classic sound effect that honestly I should probably make my text alert.
So sniping's a lot of fun in Battlefield 5. It feels good. I feel like in Battlefield 1, Vin, I don't know if I'm right or not. Were you able to steady your rifle?
Yeah, I think you could. It's funny. I would never do it. I would want to do it, but I didn't have the patience, and I should have.
In Battlefield 5, like I went back to really studying, and you could always steady your rifle in the Call of Duty games, but I wasn't as much of a sniper in Call of Duty. That's a battle for another day. So yeah, I'm with Battlefield 5. Even with the assault rifle shooting, I feel like deaths are like very quick, which feels right. Getting like a tank or hitting someone like with the shooting. Sorry, getting off topic a little bit again, but the plane dynamics shooting wise are great. Like you don't insta kill planes. Like you have to get a lot of shots on those World War II like dogfights. It's awesome. I love the shooting in Battlefield 5. Let's get to maps. I think this is gonna be pretty easy right now. Matt, we'll start with you on maps this time.
I mean,
Battlefield 1 or
obviously
5.
I'm gonna go 1 because, and I mean it's not fair right now because 1 has like several map packs out. It has like the Russian Civil War map, which is fun as hell. You have all sorts of add-on the French Army maps. It's easily in Battlefield 1's favor. But however, just kind of subtracting that element of it, Battlefield 1 has these rolling fields. It has the trenches. It has urban environments. It has all this stuff built into it that makes the maps more fun because sometimes like if your side's fighting in open fields, you got to use different weapons because that little submachine gun you're going to run around with in the city area is not going to cut it out there because you're going to get picked off like way out in the distance. And also just in regards to the maps, like 1 I feel like captured the era better as well because like when you're doing the operations, when you're the attacking side, like when it does the whole sound effect of everybody charging and everything like that, all the guys yelling and stuff like
and the whistle.
Yeah, like it's awesome stuff. Like I love it. I mean, to me, it's not even a contest.
Yeah.
Battlefield 1 like easily takes that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, but I do like Arras in Battlefield 5 as far as the beauty of the map is incredible.
Is that the farm map?
Farm with the grass and the wheat fields and some of the like grass ditches on the sides of the roads. That's good for hiding and crawling, and that's a new element that I think has an advantage over map play maybe.
I have to go with Battlefield 1 because I feel like those maps. I thought Battlefield 1's team deathmatch maps were too like I don't know what the word is, but they were too small. Where they've changed that in Battlefield 5, the team deathmatch match was still pretty sprawling. But when you were doing Conquest, or what did we do? The ones that are stages that we did a bunch of.
I think it's
front lines maybe.
Yeah,
operations
and
operations. Yeah.
But those the maps were just so sprawling and just so big, and the amount of detail that they put in those guys. I mean, one of my favorite maps in Battlefield 1, is it in the Alps? And it's the one where that has that giant tunnel as well.
Grappa.
Yeah, and it's like you have like the mountain up here, and then
you have those big turrets that are up the mountain that Eric can look around and shoot.
Navarone or something.
And you could be in those mountains at different levels, sniping at people, and like that map was probably one of the most fun for counter sniping.
I had honestly, Battlefield 1 has given me some of the most this is brutal fighting moments in a multiplayer game. I mean, there have been times where you're one of the big maps when there's a point that both sides are going for. You got like 30-something dudes going for it. I mean, there's just grenades, there's bullets going everywhere. I mean, there's guys going down left and right. Just those moments of just pure chaos where you're like, this is what like a battle in this era would be like.
Yeah, getting off topic real quick, because I feel like I have to tell the story because you're here. Near the end, it was kind of near the end when we were playing Battlefield 1, we were playing Frontlines, and we were getting pushed back so hard. It's the map. I don't know any of the names of the map. It's with all the trenches and all of the bunkers. Mm-hmm. And then later it gets to like some houses down the line, and there's a giant like underground. I think it's like a church or something. But we got pushed back all the way to the end, and they kept on arming the bombs and arming the bombs and arming the bombs, and we stopped them. And then made it all the way back, and they still gave the win to them, but it should have been a draw. I mean, they must have felt so defeated. That was some of the most fun we ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. How you can that tug of war that you get from the front lines.
Yeah.
Gameplay is awesome.
Yeah, that was so fun. So right now it's one apiece. We have shooting for BF5. That was 2 against 1 there, and then maps we're all Battlefield 1 there. Moving on to the weapons. We went with you first for the last one, so Vin, to you for weapons.
I'm going to have to go with Battlefield 5 for this just because of the variety. I felt like after a while, maybe because I played Battlefield 1 for so long, I really got tired of the weapons quickly. A lot of the one-shot DMR type of rifles I just kind of got a little bit tired of. I feel like there's a little more variety in Battlefield 5, and they're probably going to add some more in the next couple of months.
I'm tempted to say Battlefield 1 just because I have more experience with all the weapons. I've unlocked most of them, and I haven't done all that yet with Battlefield 5. But I will go with Battlefield 5 on this one just because of the fact that, there's more variety with the weapons and things like that, and you're able to do more things with them. So
I'm torn here because like you said, like there's not a lot of World War I games. So Battlefield 1, when you were playing with these weapons for the first time, it was a breath of fresh air. There were barely any automatic weapons. It was a lot of single bolt rifles.
It depends on your class, because there were like when you were in assault class, you had automatic weapons,
but they
didn't exist until like the very tail end of the war.
But I really dug that I felt like everyone's kind of like on an even playing field, like in that sense with that, because everybody was getting used to these very different guns that they were used to in like either a current gen type of war game or like a World War II. But I have to still give it to Battlefield 5 just because the assault rifle specifically, like the assault rifle that you start out with if you do assault class, is like a really good gun. Like there's no, oh man, I have to use this until like I unlock the next one. Like you could use that gun for like your whole time playing the game and enjoy it, which I think is great. It's the same exact thing. I'm a level 11 recon for sniping, and I've been using the same rifle the whole time. And I think it is the best. What's the name of it?
Is it the first one, the Lee Enfield?
Maybe? It is, yes. and that's, I think, the best sniping rifle in the game.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I have to give the slight advantage to BF5.
We're gonna look like dicks if Battlefield 5 has the most categories one at the end of this.
Yeah. All right. That was a pretty easy one. So right now, BF5 is in the lead.
2-1. Yeah.
Yep. Game modes.
I'm gonna have to go Battlefield 1. Just, I mean, by virtue of the fact that like what Battlefield 5 is using, it got from Battlefield 1. You know, the operations, the front lines, like pretty much all that was in Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 also had they introduced the pure air combat maps, which were fun. You know, it was a fun game mode to play.
And that's not in Battlefield 5.
I mean, maybe not yet.
Not
but
yet.
But that's something that Battlefield 1 has. So, like, if you're like, I suck at flying, and I suck at flying planes for the most part, like, but that's how I got better, was I just logged into the air combat maps, the air combat modes, and just did my best Baron von Richthofen impression. You know, that was, I mean, that, like, and also, like, there's just so many good moments in some of those game modes from Battlefield 1 that I've had where, I think there was one mode, I think it was one of the air combat modes, where I was in a dogfight with this guy, and his gunner was getting the drop on me. Like, his gunner was just plunking my plane left and right. So I'm about to die. Like, I have like 5 health left. I ram his plane, kill him, blow him up midair. I get a message on Xbox Live from the guy who was flying the plane. He just goes, "Why?"
Yeah, this one is a little tricky. I want to give it a draw, but I know you can't. So, Battlefield 1 had war pigeons, so they have a little extra.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
That's right.
But, with the air superiority, that's definitely needed in Battlefield 5. They'll probably, it's a little early to tell, but breakthrough is really good in Battlefield 5, where you're capturing 2 points at a time. Front lines, they still have the same in Battlefield 1, but grand operations in Battlefield 5 is not as good as the grand operations in Battlefield 1, so I would give the slight edge to Battlefield 1 in this case.
Yeah, I have to give it to Battlefield 1 because, like the story we told earlier, some of the most fun I think we've ever had squatting up was, with, like, front lines, and we had some good times doing really long nights of, like, grand operations, which could be a lot of fun if, like, you're with, like, the same squad all night. And again, that's stuff that's carried over into BF5. So I think BF1 gets that as well. So we're at 2-2. So this is it. Graphics. Vin, go ahead.
This is tough because Battlefield, as you know, has amazing graphics.
Yeah.
I would say that the lighting and the way the maps look, the beauty of the maps and the coloring, I like in Battlefield 5. But the visibility, if you count that as something to be desired, it's not as good in Battlefield 5. But I'm still going to give the slight edge to Battlefield 5 in this case.
I'm gonna go with Battlefield 1 because I felt that the graphics and caught the era, the tone, the setting of the early 20th century. Like, I mean, obviously, like, I could go like, because the thing is, obviously, Battlefield 5 is a more recent game, so I kind of have to like take that into account. That yes, it has the advantage of being more recently made. So obviously, there's been lighting improvements and things like that. But I felt that I liked looking. I could honestly, without even like doing, without having death matches in those maps, I felt like I could just take a stroll around Battlefield 1's maps and just like take in the sights of the, you have the castles, you have the villas, you have the rolling fields, the trenches, and all that. Like, so I will give the slight nod to Battlefield 1. So now the ball's in your court, Julian, as to which you would pick.
No pressure.
No pressure on this.
No, it's actually a pretty easy decision for me. I'm giving Battlefield 1 as well because of one thing and one thing only, because I think the graphics are actually very comparable, but they only did it recently with the battle that we just did, night modes.
Yeah.
When Battlefield 1 released those, they were like, it was France, right? Yeah, the France night mode maps.
Torpedoes.
That was, and then you saw, like, in the background at night, like, other battles going on in the distance, and I was like, get out of here. Like, that was awesome. And the recent one, the with Grand Operations or whatever they call it, for Battlefield 5, was really cool, like, paratrooping in at night. Like, that's cool, but it was done in Battlefield 1 already. And like Matt said, I think that going back to maps, going with some of the best maps in a shooter ever with the graphics that it had, BF1 takes it.
Yeah. So by 3-2.
By 3-2.
Battlefield 1.
Battlefield 1.
If you could only combine them both, right?
Yeah,
I know.
Battlefield 1 is the winner, and that does it for our first ever versus battle. Vin, I kind of want to put the spotlight on you here real quick. A little off subject from the versus, but there's a lot of cool things coming with Battlefield 5, and I know that like you kind of tweet with the developers, and you know a little bit more about what's upcoming than maybe Matt and I. Is there anything you want to touch on with BF5 before we go?
Just the new Battle Royale modes coming out. I'm not normally into Battle Royale. I have started playing Apex Legends, and it's actually a really fun game. But they are coming out. Criterion's developing the Battle Royale mode for Battlefield 5. That should be coming, I think, next week.
And that's Firestorm, right?
Yeah, Firestorm. Yeah. So that looks interesting. A big wall of fire coming in on you, and you can fight with tractors. And there's a mini helicopter, like a vehicle that you're able to fly as well.
Are we going to see any, like, I know it's all free DLC, but are we going to see any like bigger map packs? Because I feel like my biggest complaint right now with BF5 is that I cycle through all the maps pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think Greece is coming. They mentioned that's coming pretty soon. They also revamped Panzerstorm, called the Battle of Hanut, with 64 players. If you haven't played that, that's pretty amazing. Adds that whole element we talked about earlier with Battlefield 1, planes flying, tanks, everything. So.
Cool. Well, that does it for Versus. Battlefield 1, it gets to kind of go down in the history books at being the first winner of victor. Our Versus segments. We will have more of these down the road. I think it was a really cool thing to do. I like it. I dig it a lot. That's going to do it for our show. As always, we would like to thank our good friends here at Wade's Comic Madness for letting us use the basement of awesome, as always. And then I want to thank our guests, Vin and Rob, for joining us to talk about all the fun things that we do on our show. We will be back next week. Have a good one.
To the moon, fireman to the right.